Anna Jacobson from CBS Saturday Morning. Welcome to The Dish. Today we travel to the Crescent City, visiting 3 New Orleans restaurants serving up bites of the bayou. We'll venture to the Garden District, where a commanding, historic establishment has a female executive chef for the first time. And we visit author and chef Toya Bodie, who channels her culture and family through her cooking. But first, we sit down with renowned chef and restaurateur Edgar Duke Chase. Along with his cousins, Chase is upholding the legacy of their grandmother, Leah Chase, known as the Queen of Creole Cuisine. Their newest restaurant, 4, honors the family's 4 generations. That's where he met our Michelle Miller.
Gee, we're coming live.
It doesn't take long to catch on. The Chapter 4 is a family affair. 3 cousins working in tandem.
I know I need to order extra basil.
In the kitchen, Gavin Gaines is executive chef.
Well, you gotta.
Beverage director Eve Heidel behind the bar.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that gorgeous?
I might need you to be my cocktail designer.
Duke Chase, pleasure.
And Edgar Dookie Chase IV, running the show.
Chapter 4 is a celebration of the 4th generation, the 4th generation of Chases coming on board to lead the charge.
It's a simple but elegant dining room featuring a large bar, outdoor patio, and walls adorned with African-American art.
We still want you to get that fine dining feel, but in a very relaxed setting.
In the end, it's the food reeling in the customers.
My plate looked like Bernadette.
Oh,
That was delicious. This Gulf shrimp is really delicious.
We sat down to make a plate of our own.
So when you talk about all the beautiful pantry that we have here in New Orleans and Louisiana, we try to showcase all that great stuff here.
There's corn makshu mixed with crawfish and smoky andouille, with a serving of blackened redfish and crab fried rice.
You keep talking about that crab fried rice.
This crab fried rice
You
is
created
amazing.
that.
I did. You know, we are known for jambalaya down here, right? Which is a play on jollof rice. But I said, instead of jambalaya, let's honor our beautiful blue crab that we have here in Louisiana.
Citrus glazed salmon atop pan-seared asparagus, a fried twist on oysters Rockefeller, and spicy smothered okra.
Is there a new New Orleans cuisine that is being discovered here, or is it really leaning in on the time-tested traditions?
I think we're leaning in on to our roots. We're celebrating everything that we have here locally. That's why I say Creole cuisine is the all-star of all cuisines, because what we took was the best of each and every culture that brought something here and made a cuisine out of it.
For dessert, there's this densely rich cheesecake drizzled with his grandma's favorite berry glaze, the perfect match to a berry mint rum cocktail called Leah's Garden.
It tells a story of her working in that strawberry patch. That's right.
I love it.
Duke's original career plan was finance, but after getting his MBA,
we all have degrees in so many different fields, but we all find our way back home, and home is the restaurant.
he set off for culinary school at the Cordon Bleu in Paris.
Confidence is the key that I think that school taught me.
But none of this would have been possible without his family legacy or that of his grandmother.
I like to cook every day.
A legacy baked into his DNA.
We grew up doing everything, waiting tables, bussing tables, cashier, in the kitchen. But I got stuck in that kitchen and I just saw the love that my grandmother had just looking at the stove and commanding it. And I fell in love with the kitchen right then.
70 years ago, Leah Chase morphed her in-laws' corner bar and sandwich shop into a classic Creole dining room featuring white linen tablecloths topped with delicious food surrounded by walls of black art. Through the years, it was a safe haven for everyone, from freedom riders seeking refuge to blacks and whites secretly meeting during segregation. It's also played host to New Orleans' biggest street party.
Happy Mardi Gras.
Still does, with eats offered to parade goers in its wide-open backyard parking lot. But Duke's generation has expanded the family business to 2 eateries at Louis Armstrong International and Chapter 4 in downtown New Orleans.
As an African-American restaurateur, there's much more that we think about than just hospitality. We think about community first. We think about the impact of our surrounding neighborhood.
For Duke, that means bringing back the African American Museum in Treme, a vibrant business community in the 50s blighted by construction of the interstate and later Hurricane Katrina.
And this starts that revival process of bringing this neighborhood, this community back. We're talking about African American businesses. We want to bring those back. Good to see you.
A lot of generational businesses don't make it. Why are you?
They understood how to create that family connectivity. We didn't miss a birthday, we didn't miss a Christmas, we didn't miss our beach trip. They created such a close-knit family between me and all of my cousins to understand that there won't be a squabble as we continue this legacy. We know each and every role that each and every one of us needs to play. There's food outside and everybody's cooking.
It's all part of the ministry of a family that revels in its ability to give back.
We gotta keep growing for that next generation to set the next bar for us. So if we're not growing and sustaining what we have, shame on us as the fourth generation.
Up next, a female executive chef leads the kitchen for the first time at this world-renowned eatery. Meg Bickford, the first female executive chef at historic Commander's Palace, is putting her own touches on the fine dining Creole menu. The landmark restaurant dates back more than 100 years and has been a launching pad for famous chefs like Emeril Lagasse. Jamie Wax visited with Bickford to discuss her career journey and the legacy of Commander's Palace.
Commander's was tasteful beige like every other house in the Garden District. And I came one day and there was a big patch of aqua blue and I was like, oh my God.
The distinctive blue and white edifice of Commander's Palace in the Garden District of New Orleans is a symbol of culinary excellence to food lovers everywhere.
I bicycled home as fast as I could and told my mom, I said, there's no way you can paint that restaurant blue. That's so embarrassing. I'll never be able to go to school again.
And it's blue. So she didn't listen.
Clearly.
In typical Ella fashion, she just went, no.
The Ella she refers to is legendary Ella Brennan, whose family bought the restaurant in 1969. It's earned a reputation as one of the best fine dining restaurants in the world. That reputation was maintained and expanded by Ella's daughter T. Martin and niece Lally Brennan, the current proprietors. You all seem to have a special eye for talent. Is there a secret to that you've started to see? Is there a pattern?
You know, sometimes people say, where do you get them? And I'm like, do we get them or does this place make them? And so I think there's a little bit of both.
The list of former head chefs is like a who's who of food world titans, including icons like Paul Prudhomme, Emeril Lagasse, and Tori McPhail.
How much curated do you?
And now, for the very first time, the hallowed kitchen of Commander's Palace is being commanded by a woman, executive chef Meg Bickford. What does it feel like to be in the line of that? Can you even think about that as you're trying to tackle this job?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm very fortunate to be asked and invited and put on that list. Those guys really built their careers here and they became who they were as professional chefs here. So I'm very excited about that. That one day being on this list and being like, that's right, and that's Meg Bickford.
In a way, this is a huge moment because of the fact that you're a woman, but in a way, you sort of wish it weren't. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair. I think that it's very important for us to feel empowered, and any movement in the right direction is fantastic.
Bickford has worked at the restaurant since 2008, with Tori McPhail as her mentor.
He took me as a kid straight out of culinary school and just constantly pushed, constantly pushed. Every time I would think about the future of my career, every time that thought would pop into my head, the next great adventure was one step away and it was right here.
You're looking for multiple things, like they've got to have this talent, you know, we sometimes call it magic in the hands and this fire in the belly. But you know, a lot of people are avoiding change. You got to have somebody that's not only not avoiding it, they're looking for it.
And it's so nice when you have depth to move someone up that has been working with us for a while.
Bickford has been encouraged to make the menu her own. You say you don't feel pressure to keep anything on the menu. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. We feel very free that we can do whatever we want. I mean, when you really think about it, I would say there might be 3 things on the menu that won't leave anytime soon, but that doesn't mean they won't change either.
We saw examples of that change displayed on our table.
And I have seen variations of this oyster and absinthe soup on the menu.
Yep.
This is your take on an Ella Brennan classic.
It is, and I will say that it is one of the very first things that I learned how to cook in this restaurant.
Just delicious. Was it fun for you to reinvent this or figure out what you wanted to do with it?
And I think that's something that we do a lot.
I think about the influences of Israeli cuisine, Vietnamese and other Asian cuisines in the last 10 years, really. Is your kitchen inspired by those shifts in this sort of cultural gumbo?
Absolutely.
Bickford says her love of cooking has some very deep roots.
I'm a Cajun girl. You know, my dad's from New Orleans, my mom's from down the bayou, and everybody in my family cooks. It's just a rite of passage at a certain age. I think, to me, the reason that I got into this was seeing how powerful food was and what it did for people and to people. And I thought that I wanted to be a part of creating that for other people.
And in a field that still heavily features men as executive chefs, the next generation is always on her mind.
The fact that you have a daughter and that she's watching her mother excel in the way that a son or daughter would often have watched their father excel. Do you think about that?
Sure, I do. And I think that that is a lot of my motivation. I don't work for me, I don't work for them, I work for her, you know? I think that's very powerful. You got your potatoes?
For Meg Bickford, setting a great example goes beyond family.
You know, I think every restaurant in the world is its own little microcosm of the world. And Commander's is an interesting place in the world. And it will survive all of us.
After the break, a chef redefining creativity in the kitchen, one bowl of gumbo at a time. Toya Bodie, a multi-talented chef, cultural ambassador, and author behind the book Cooking for the Culture, is forging her own path in the culinary world while giving our Michelle Miller a lesson on making the perfect roux. She tells her story of grit and gumbo.
Now, with my gumbo, I always tell people it's a 6-step gumbo. When I first gave that lesson, my mother was like, I don't believe that, but when I listed it, I told her, I said, all of the steps are minus Young and the Restless. You watching TV, looking up Facebook, all of that.
I think I should be doing this.
All right, come on, let's do it.
When it comes to making gumbo, Toya Bodie has taken the time-honored tradition and turned back the clock.
Once I mix the Trinity, the onion, celery, and the bell peppers into the roux to calm it down, add it into the cold stock, wait for it to get hot.
The New Orleans chef says roux, oil and flour mixed with care, is the longest part of the process.
Can I just say to all those people who did not teach me how to cook gumbo all those years, booyah.
And let it get crazy, let it get crazy.
Woo! I
Why?
want roux from start to finish. And there you have it. In under 30 minutes, instant gumbo.
Here's to the roux.
You should be proud.
And I made it in New Orleans. How fitting is that? You talk a lot about self-expression, history, culture. Why is it important for you to impart these things?
So much of society over the year tries to wash it out and to try to put, you know, particularly Black and brown people into these boxes, you know, and they can't go outside them. And those boxes don't have the representation of our culture. That's the only reason why gumbo is my favorite dish to make, because it's a rags to riches meal. Started off on the tables of the poor, made its way to the tables of the wealthy. Started from scraps, and now look at everybody. People fly here just to get it. It also helped because I didn't trim the fat off.
It's part of her winning strategy as she redefines success in a city enamored with good food.
I'm a private chef for certain clients, and I'm talking in New Orleans, you can not only be a chef without a restaurant, but you can be a chef without a restaurant and actually make what we call guap, which is a lot of money. Like,
well, guap?
Yes.
Oh, I've learned something.
It's money, and then there's a lot of guap.
What makes Bodie popular is her irresistible take on classic Southern cuisine, showcased in her cookbook, Cooking for the Culture.
I cooked a bunch of things from my book. I have the collards with the sangria tomatoes and cornbread, barbecue shrimp, crab cakes with caper sauce, and the baked mac and cheese.
I really love this mac and cheese.
Now that mac and cheese, that's a killer.
Is this a cardiac arrest?
No, I ain't say that. I recommend this if you're gonna do a potluck. And then when they go to dig in it and they see the creaminess and then they bite it and they say, wait a minute.
But it was the fried fish worthy of an interruption.
And I made it pretty far in the rounds.
Oh, wait, excuse me. That's some good catfish.
Come on now.
I don't eat catfish.
I know, I was waiting for you to taste it.
I like catfish. But I'm being fair to you here. I'm gonna have your catfish because I like it.
And in this spread, the proof was certainly in the pudding. Bread pudding.
It's white chocolate.
It's the crunchy on the inside.
That's just the stickiness from the white chocolate, the sugar, all of that. Because I chop it up real fine and I mix it all through and I put chunks in the middle.
I know if I do shrimp etouffee on a...
In the past few years, Bodie has garnered appreciation on the cooking competition circuit, bringing her signature flair.
You're gonna love it, so swipe up.
I would notice everyone who was Southern changing who they are to be on camera. And then I just started being tired of it. I'm not changing my hair anymore. I'm not changing my nails. I'm not changing my... No, because we embody something really good here.
A New Orleans native, she remembers times when both of her parents worked more than one job to make ends meet.
Dinner would be made before we left for school because we could not afford it at all to have fast food or even boxed things. This was from scratch.
Bodie started cooking professionally about the age of 15 at a local store. But that same year, her life took an unexpected turn when she learned she was pregnant.
Literally, my sweet 16 birthday was in Planned Parenthood. But I'm telling you, when that girl, her name is Heaven, and when I looked at the definition, that is exactly what happened to our lives.
How you doing, Heaven? That's your mommy? That's your mommy?
Christmases changed. Everybody was happy around the house. It was like the house was lively. It was just everything changed for the better, like after she came.
And I heard a whisper to my heart telling me, say love.
One of those things was how Bodie channeled her creativity.
And this is where you got your start.
Yes, yes. I started out poetry on this stage, open mic nights on Tuesdays, and it was on from there.
Making a name for herself as a poet.
I saw my life changing with each read. With each time I just memorized something and I committed to it, I started seeing my life like flip and mold.
Bodie met her husband, Chris, online, and he helped her build her brand.
I want everyone to feel comfortable with cooking.
10 years later, the couple is still going strong.
2 girls, 2 boys. Oldest just entered the master's program.
You gotta
Ain't
be
that
proud.
something?
You gotta be so proud! Proud mama!
So what I'm doing here...
It's that energy Bodie brings to her cooking and her mission.
I'm gonna be as unapologetic as possible for whatever little girls need to come behind it, who need book deals, whatever women decide, I'm 56, I think I'm gonna do that book I've always wanted to do. Do it. Pay her too.
And from now on, she says there's no holding back.
Do you have any plans we don't know about?
I plan on seeing what develops after this book. There's parts of the journey that I can't know until I get there. So I'm just gonna focus on showing up on time.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news 24/7, stream us right here on CBS News. I'm Dana Jacobson. We'll see you next time for another helping of The Dish.